Hey, this is Chuck Worley with the 757 House Whisperer Show. I'm the founder and host of the show. It is a very, very dreary, cold winter day. So some of you guys are seeing snowflakes. Some of you guys are hopefully making snowmen. Maybe can you make a reindeer? I don't know. So some of you guys are enjoying the slip and slide that we call an interstate. Definitely be careful out there. It is not going to get better before it gets worse. Yeah, we are coming to you, trying not to brave the snow.
Right.
So we want to stay off the roads as much as we can. But I am here with Mr. Jack Keller. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself, and I'm going to introduce the other people on the show.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Well, thanks for the introduction, Chuck. My name is Jack Keller, and I'm the owner of Legacy Painting. We are located right here in Yorktown, Virginia, and we service from about New Kent down to Virginia Beach and the state line. We do residential and commercial painting, and we also do some drywall repairs as well. So all those nasty stress cracks, nail pops, dents and dings in the wall as well. We take care of all that stuff and just try to make it as easy as possible. And yeah, I'll let Chuck introduce the rest of the
All
cast
right.
as well.
So we got Michael Davenport with CVP Custom Vinyl Products, but it's windows and doors. CVP Windows and Doors now. That's the new branding. Since I'm pretty good at branding with all these orange and green trucks, he is very important that we're branding CVP Windows and Doors. But that is Michael Davenport. We've been friends for about, I don't know, longer than Jack's been alive. So about 30 some years. So Albin with Albin Co. He has a lot of time on his hands now because he is finished with the Chuck and Julie remodel at his house. He remodeled my 1,500 square foot farmhouse on 5 acres in York County. We love our little farmhouse. So since it's just the two of us, instead of building a nice big old Taj Mahal that we'd have to clean.
Right, that's the worst part right there.
Finally, like I said, Albin's got time now. So he's got a couple other projects running. Actually, I think he was out of state last week. He is very sought after, but does a fantastic job. Very, very good at the details. I have an old farmhouse, as I was saying. Over top of my windows, y'all remember some of these older houses, you'll see them in Norfolk where they got that nice framing over top of the inside of the windows. He kind of made that by hand, and something that looks kind of like the old Norfolk, Ghent, Larchmont type houses, where the windows were actually 6 foot tall, like the big old windows, man. Those things are monsters. But anyway, he's done a great job for us. I would highly recommend him. And we also have Miss Cindy Rawl with Alpha Pest Solution. She is the only woman you know with a license to kill. I always like to clarify that's animals, so not ex-husbands or ex-spouses or. But I don't know if the money's right. The flight might be tonight, but she is awesome. She is not afraid of a crawl space, man. I tell you, she will jump right underneath of that crawl space and figure out what in the world is going wrong or what kind of pest environment you have under there. She does offer free inspections, and she runs pretty much Williamsburg all the way down to the Virginia line. So, I mean, she goes everywhere. Wow. So, but lives over in Smithfield, and so she's kind of in the middle. So 20 minutes one way, she's on the peninsula. 20 minutes one way, she's on the south side. So she has a great thing going. So if you need anything having to do with pest control, she is phenomenal. So, and then we do have Justin with Pyramid Roofing. I believe he is in Mexico this week.
That's nice.
Yeah, he's I can't be too mad at him since Julie and I are going to St. Martin next week. So, like I said, we did not build a big old house, so her traveling budget could be bigger. So, so again, you guys, please be careful out there on the roads. It is not going to be very pretty the next couple days. So, but again, I want to remind you, I am Chuck Worley with Worley's Home Services. I own Worley's, and I do HVAC, air conditioning, ductwork, electrical, plumbing, crawl space encapsulations, spray foam insulation. There's really not, I'm kind of a building science geek. I've been working on houses for a very, very long time. Yes, longer than Jack's been alive, but I tell you, he's been hanging out with these old guys and young gal, right? We can't call Cindy old. She can probably kick my butt. So, but yeah, so he's been hanging around, learning a lot from the show. I'm sure people calling in, asking questions.
Yeah,
Man,
absolutely.
you're probably like, oh man, how now you can help customers be like, look, I'm not an AC guy, but the reason your ductwork's sweating is because Chuck tells me every week, hot touches cold.
We actually had a couple customers ask if we could handle some duct work in an act, and I was like, absolutely not.
That's
I passed
right.
on y'all's
You know a
information.
guy.
Yeah,
You
right.
know a guy.
Absolutely.
It's well, one of my things is look, I don't have to know everything about contracting because I know everybody in contracting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really important to have the right guy working on your house or company working on your account. You don't want the guy. The guy is who you don't want. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. We're sitting there talking and say, "Oh yeah, I got this guy." He does. I'm like, "Oh man, my heart just starts going. My hair on the back of my neck sticks up." I'm like, "Please do not hire the guy. Like the guy has no insurance. The guy borrows his mom's pickup truck. He lives in his mom's basement, but he gives you a great deal price wise because if he falls off that roof or falls off that ladder and breaks his legs, he's just going to sue you until you can't see straight again. And it's yeah, you definitely don't want the guy going. In my, it's in my office. So anyway, I just want to remind you guys that houses talk to me. The phone number to call tonight is not 757-955-9514. Did I say that right? 95. Nope, I'm sorry. 955-9415. I am. I think I told y'all before. I was dyslexic for a really long time, so the proper number is 757-955-9415. That number again. Call or text tonight is 757-955-9415. And I wasn't kidding about dyslexic. I had a learning disability in third grade and had to repeat the third grade because I couldn't read, was it left to right, right? So I was reading right to left. So yes, I was not making a joke about learning disabilities because I actually had one. So any calls tonight, we want you to call the 757 House Whisperer Show. That is 757-955-9415. That is the number that you can reach us tonight. And like I said, you could call or text that number. I want to remind you guys why I came up with this show. I've been thinking about it for years and years. I've been on Ask the Expert shows for, since 2001. I've been on a couple manufacturers, had Ask the Expert shows on Saturday. So if I sound familiar to you from 20 years ago, that might be why. And I will remind you that I have a face for radio. That's why you don't see me. You actually hear me more. But yeah, so Ask the Expert show, and that was really cool. People calling in about heating and air conditioning and answering questions. So that kind of put it in my mind. And then about 10 years ago, some of y'all may recognize the name Keith Bales. He was a personal friend of mine, and I was my best friend, and he passed away in 2012. So when that happened, it was four of us. It was a contractor, a roofer, pest control guy, and of course a heat and air knucklehead named Chuck. So we were all together. We were probably all friends for 10 plus years and had a great show that we put together. But I just got to tell you, when Keith passed away, it just, the show just wasn't the same. And we just collapsed the show. It's called the Hampton Roads Home Pros, and we had a blast with it. And I really, really missed that show. And I really, really miss KB. He was he was an incredible man, and he invested a lot of knowledge into me. And the reason that houses talk to me is because of all the information that man just poured into me. And yeah, he was a super guy, and we were friends for, gosh, probably 12 to 15 years. And yeah, there are people I think that God puts into your life that help you, and that you possibly help them. I don't know that I brought him any wisdom, but I will promise you I brought him a lot of laughter. So we used to cut up underneath houses. We were looking at some ductwork stuff, and Keith was a little bit skinnier than me, so he went underneath this beam, and I had to exhale to get through that beam. And I promise you, that lady, when it came out, she's like, "What the hell were y'all doing under that house?" She's like, "Sounded like you guys were having a blast." And I'm like, if you find something you love to do, you'll never work another day in your life. I love helping people fix their houses. So the reason I came up with the 757 House Whisperer show was that giving people an opportunity in our neighborhood, 757, to call in and ask questions about problems with their house, and being able to help these people. One person calls in. I've been helping one person at a time for 30 plus years. And it's great because I've helped, thousands, tens of thousands of people. I've helped fix their problems, things that they didn't know were problems. And now I get the opportunity when you call in and you ask a question about your house. I'm not just helping you, I'm helping thousands of other listeners that have a similar question, and I'm answering their questions too. So it's kind of a public service announcement. I feel like, this is a big investment of time for all of us as contractors. We all have jobs. So taking this time out of our evenings to come over here and to answer your guys' questions and to really pour back into our communities that have done so much for us, investing back into our small little 757 area code. And we do creep up to Waynesburg. So some of that Lenexa, there's a little 804 in there. So I want to reach out to our 804 area code people too. But we're not in Richmond. Now, a couple of the guys are. I know Mike just opened up a branch up there. I'll talk about CVP. They just opened up a branch in Richmond and are absolutely killing it. So if you're listening from up that neck of the woods, CVP Windows and Doors is phenomenal. Again, if you call in or text the 757-955-9415, I will get you his information.
Yeah, and I have a question for you, Chuck, as well.
Uh-oh.
With all this,
don't be asking me a curveball. Like I don't know, man. I'm a little nervous. You asking me a question.
With all this cold weather, what can people do, myself included, to help prevent issues or failures, stuff like that in this cold weather?
So if I was doing this show to get business, I would tell you everything the opposite of the truth. Because if I was doing it for me, I would just tell you, don't do anything. Cut off your AC, cut off your heat.
Right.
Just cut off your heat, man. Let everything blow up. Let all those pipes burst and let all that cold air into the crawl space. That's a great idea. But that's not why we're here. We're here to serve our community and to educate people. I know there's a lot of DIY people out there that they're listening into the show. And we're answering all these questions of stuff that they can do themselves. The cool part is all those guys, then you guys know who you are. You don't want to do it for every single neighbor you have. So you're like, look, I learned this from Chuck. So call him. He has a bunch of guys that can come out and fix this stuff for you. Because I had a guy that this kind of segue into what you were asking. He had a whole bunch of insulation underneath the house. He's a DIY guy. He's like, I'm not paying you X amount of dollars to pull the insulation out from underneath this house. I can do that. We were going to do an encapsulation for him. And anyway, he goes and starts pulling all this insulation out. And he's probably late 50s. So he's a little bit at the time. I mean, I'm his age now, but so he starts pulling all this insulation. He said, me and my son are going to do it. No, you're just charging too much to pull insulation out. I'm like, have you ever pulled insulation out? He said, no. I said, I promise you, you're going to call me back and tell me I'm not charging enough. Yeah, sure. I ain't kidding you. 3 months goes by and I get this call. Chuck, you suck. And I was like, I mean, it doesn't sound like my ex-wife, right? So I'm like, I'm just kidding. Sorry, don't shoot me. I'm just kidding. But I was like, who is this? So anyway, he tells me his name. I'm like, I vaguely remember the guy. He goes, you were 100% right. You do not charge enough money to pull insulation out from underneath this house. That was the worst job. He said, I had been to the hospital 3 times this week. He said, me and my son emptied out about 40 55-gallon trash bags full of insulation, full of rat crap. Like he found snakeskin. He's like, dude, that is the worst job. That's the worst job ever. That is that is a horrible job. He's like, no, so anyway, he pulls, like, he still has like 700 square foot left of the house, right? This is a pretty big house up in Williamsburg. And, but what happened, he was having a reaction to all the dander and the stuff. He was in white suit, had the tape around the wrist, tape around the neck.
And
Like
still-
and still he went to the hospital 3 times,
Wow.
man. He's like, I think I'm gonna die. So anyway, those DIY guys, they want to do it for themselves to save money, but they do not want to do their next door neighbor's house, right?
Wow.
So those guys are a great reference for us, or referral for us. They're like, look, I want to save money and do it myself, but I'm not doing the whole neighborhood, right? That job sucks. So anyway, we're in the process of starting to, we're getting calls about what Jack asked, right? You want to ask the question again to kind of bring them?
Yeah. So the question is, what can people do in this, while we have all this freezing cold weather, what can they do to prevent issues from happening with their water lines or heating and cooling, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'd say the first thing that you want to do is make sure, and we have this argument every single year, mostly with pest control people, but thank God we have a smart one on the show. So closing off the vents is the best thing to stop the cold air from getting into the crawl space. So if you stop the cold air from getting into the crawl space, and especially if you have ductwork under there, you're going to have some infiltration or leakage from the duct. So it's going to leak into the crawl space. So it's not going to stop it from, freezing everything if it's 12 degrees outside, right? But it kind of goes into the principle of the encapsulation. The principle of the encapsulation is we're moving the vapor barrier, excuse me, what's the word about it? The shell of the house where the insulation is in the floor, and we're moving that out to the outside wall and putting foam board on the outside wall, which is going to stop any infiltration from getting into your crawl space. And when I do that, I'm gonna have vapor barrier on the floor, I'm gonna have foam board on the sidewalls, and I'm gonna stop the cold air from getting into the crawl space so that cold air isn't touching all my pipes and water pipes and ductwork and any leakage inside where the duct is obviously has heat in it. So the duct leaks into the crawl space. What's the heat gonna do? It's gonna rise. Right? So the heat rises, right? So then the heat rises into your house. So the one of the benefits is with the encapsulation is when all that heat leaks out of your duct system, all that heat rises into your house.
Oh.
You're actually getting the money you're paying for. So there's really not zero, but it's low duct leakage, or excuse me, duct loss. Because all that heat is still getting into your house. Kind of the same principle with air conditioning. You're encapsulating the crawl space. An air conditioner is a big dehumidifier. So the air conditioning is kind of helping to dehumidify your crawl. Typically not enough to control because there's so much humidity during the summer. Welcome to Virginia. I tell people that are surprised that there's humidity issues in a crawl space in Virginia when they actually live in an area that's nicknamed water.
Yeah.
It's how can you be mad? It's in the name. Water is in the name. So how can you be mad?
So is manipulating your vents something you do? You open them during the summer and
close them during the winter time.
Is that pretty standard that they can open and close, or is that?
Some of them are. I've seen people rip them off, and then of course you got animals, that you got to deal with. But every house is different, right? So I've seen houses side by side that 6 inches of water underneath one and dry as a bone. Can't even drive a nail through the wood. It's so hard. So it just depends on the house, and it has to be house needs to be inspected. Like I said, Cindy offers free inspections. We go out if you're looking to kind of investigate whether you need an encapsulation. We could do that for you. We work with her. We know the codes. We pull permits on all of our encapsulations, and we leave like a 2-inch gap, I believe or 3-inch gap in some cities is the minimum for a termite strip, which is enough room for Miss Cindy to look and make sure that there's no termites getting up inside the house. And then the next thing you want to think about is never, ever, ever turn your heat off, especially if you're going out of town. Well, I want to save money. Okay, well, don't do that. like you're going to save money until you're fixing drywall, right? Yeah. I saved $15 because I turned my furnace off this last 3 days. I went out of town. I went to the Bahamas and came back because it was 12 degrees here, and I turned the heat off to save me some money over the weekend or over the week. And yeah, great. You saved $100 on your gas bill, but you're paying, $10,000 to get sheetrock and everything else, your whole house fixed,
Right.
So that was a great question. So especially, with the snow trying to come into town, it's definitely a good thing to be thinking about is taking care of your house. So your house will take care of you.
Now, do you guys do those vents as well? Do you guys go in and put those, I guess, on the foundation?
Cindy will do the vent stuff.
Okay.
The only stuff we don't, me and Cindy and I don't compete. She doesn't do full encapsulation. She does pest control and some moisture stuff. She refers stuff to us that, if you don't want to do more than just throw some poly down, she does small stuff like that. But when you really want to fix the science of the house, I tell people all the time, houses talk to me. The biggest thing that they tell me is moisture is the devil. Like it's moisture you do not want in your house. So encapsulations are the best way to stop that. So it looks like we're coming up on a hard break. So we will be back. Jack and I will be back to answer your questions. Hey, this is Chuck Worley with the 757 House Whisperer. I am the founder and host of this show. I own I own Worley's Home Services. We do heating and air conditioning, electrical, plumbing, crawl space encapsulations, spray foam insulation, and we take care of houses. Houses talk to me. I have got a few co-hosts on the show. I want to introduce Albin with Albin Co. He does all of our remodeling and any new construction projects, any kitchens, bathrooms. I was bragging earlier on the show about him. He's done a phenomenal job at my personal house. So Cindy Raw with Alpha Pest Solution. She is the woman that that has a license to kill. She kills bugs and rodents, and she is not scared. I will tell you that. It's all you big burly guys out there. She is not scared. She is more fearless than we are. So Justin with Pyramid Roofing, Michael Davenport with CVP Windows and Doors. I know I'm trying, man. He's got their branding thing. CVP Custom. Dang it, I did it again. CVP Windows and Doors. That's their new brand. And I do want to say that he has expanded up to the Richmond market and they are absolutely crushing it up there. If you know anybody that needs windows up there, definitely keep that in mind. And I will throw it to you, Mr. Jack.
Yeah, well, thanks for everyone listening in these terrible weather conditions. But my name's Jack Keller. I own Legacy Painting. We're located right here in Yorktown. We service from up in Williamsburg, New Kent down to Virginia Beach. And all the way down to the state line. We do residential and commercial painting. We do inside painting, outside painting, and then we also do some drywall work as well. So when a lot of times when we're working inside, the walls got stress cracks, nail pops, all that good stuff. So making sure the walls are prepped right, and you get a clean, smooth, professional finish when we're done. But yeah, we were talking about some DIY stuff earlier. So if you have questions about painting or where to start, how to start, products, stuff like that, feel free to give us a call. We'd love to help out.
That number is 955-9415. You can call or text. That, of course, is the hotline, 757-955-9415. 9415. Yeah. So
yeah, give us a call and we'd love to help with all that good stuff. I know Chuck was talking about some DIY stuff as well. So there's a bunch of people here that love to help and make your lives a little bit easier. So feel free to give us a call. And do we have any trivia?
We don't have trivia tonight. So I was slack and did not get trivia trying to prepare for this storm. So that's my excuse. It's that's what I'm going with anyway. So so we wanted to kind of talk. We were kind of talking when we were on break about some customers that don't necessarily listen to contractors, which we make a living at this stuff. So Jack makes a living at painting, so he's good at it. I make a living on heating and air conditioning and electrical plumbing. So I'm pretty good at it, right? So now that's not to say that you haven't met people that aren't good on it, but at the stuff that we do, but that's why they're not on the 757 House Whisperer show, right?
Yeah.
So we are stringent on our requirements to come and join us on our show. Number one, we have to like you. You have to be, you don't have to look good like Jack. He's young, looks good. I'm old. I got a face for radio, but no, No, we were kind of talking about homeowners. They come out and ask your opinion on stuff, and we're trying to pour our hearts out. Like, look, this is what we've done. I've seen this before. This has been a problem, and then they don't listen. Right? That's pretty frustrating. Jack was talking about a job. What kind of how'd that job go? You were talking about she wanted to get it painted or sheetrocked, and
Yeah, so there's a client, great client, and they had a house that went vacant. And they kind of turn the AC off to kind of try to save some money. And here it's super humid and all that moisture stuff like that kind of ruined all the walls. So they ended up having to replace all the walls, all the sheetrock, trim, stuff like that. So we came in afterwards and painted it. And we want to make, kind of let them know, hey, make sure to keep the air on, even if you just keep it, run just a little bit. It's better.
So it was like a rental property or something. They weren't living there.
They weren't. They lived down the street.
Oh, interesting.
Right. Okay. So yeah, they're renovating it for their family or to move into it.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And so they ended up not, they wanted to save some money on the AC and power. And so, we paint everything. We come back a few months later to do some other work on other parts of the house, and we noticed that they're starting to have issues with the sheetrock and trim and stuff like that again.
Which they just paid to fix.
Yeah, they just paid to fix, and so we try to, one of our things is we really try to like help homeowners and just try to give advice where we can, and sit down with them and just be honest and try to save them money too where we can. We'd hate to come in and have to repaint everything again and take all the time and money to do that. So we'd rather them save all that money and try to help out where we can and send them, to people like Chuck and Mike and Alvin and Cindy and all them as well.
Yeah, that's so let's go over the science of what happened with this house. So again, live in an area called Tidewater, right? Water is in the name. So we have a lot of water. If you look at, I was doing some marketing sketch around my commercial building, and I do need to announce we are doing a grand opening here shortly in Greenbrier. So we just bought a building, or in the process of buying. We bought CL Carter a couple months ago, and we're in the process of buying their building, which is about 9,000 square foot in Greenbrier. So we're very, very, very excited about that. So people that were afraid to call us, we've been on the peninsula. Half our business is on the south side. I grew up in Norfolk. We love having an operation on both sides of the water now. So it's a lot easier to get around. Although most of our guys are working out of their trucks anyway, right? So it really doesn't matter, where my office is, because, I can't tell you how many, I have a handful of customers a month maybe coming by to say hi, but they're stopping in to see what I'm wearing today. I have some crazy jacket or something on.
Right.
But yeah, so that is, so that's exciting news. That is exciting news. So
do you guys have a date yet?
For moving in? Well, we've moved in. We've started, I think it's just with banks and loans and processing and stuff nothing is, you can't buy a house in 30 days. Unless you just got the jack laying around, right? So, but yeah, so sorry to my ADD kicked in and went to my due diligence. I was very excited about that. So I wanted to announce that because that is very exciting for Worley's. But kind of going back to this lady's house is the science tells us if we live in an area called Tidewater, there's moisture and stuff like this. What happens is when you cut off I'm sorry, my ADD kicked back in. I remember why I was talking about the water. So as a bird flies, I was talking about my shop. So man, ADD's kicked in. It must be the snow, right? So as the bird flies, I was doing like a 5-mile loop around my building and then a 10-mile loop around my building. Half of it's water. So 10 miles to the right, 10 miles to the left. Well, 13 miles to the right, I'm in water. 12 miles to the left, I'm in water. So as the bird flies, so half of our area is water. The peninsula, there's a reason it's called that, right? Because it's surrounded by water on 3 sides. So there's just so much water, so much moisture, Tidewater area, so let's get back to the lady again. So sorry, Jack. What's happening is there's moisture in the air. So what happens is when you cut off your air conditioner, all that hot, humid air that's actually in your crawl space, everybody knows you got hot, humid air in the crawl space. Well, what happens when you get hot, humid air in the crawl space? Ductwork sweats, moisture, mold, mildew. this is not like a big stretch to say if I turn the air conditioner off on the inside of my building, why is it going to be different than the crawl space?
Right.
You're literally turning your whole house into the Virginia crawl space. It's like I shouldn't use the word dumb, but it's not smart to. I think it's just not. It's ignorant, I think is the right word, because it's a lack of knowledge, right? So that's probably the proper English way to say that. But I failed English at Upper Catholic, so everybody knows that. So I can't be blamed for having perfect English, right? So, but they did graduate me because they didn't want me to come back the next year. So so anyway, that is kind of why you don't want to cut off your air conditioner, because all that hot, humid, you're literally going to turn your house into a wet, damp crawl space. So I had a similar story, and I think I told this about 6 months ago. There was a lady who I won't tell her name, but she was in Yorktown and she lived at the shipyard. And excuse me, she worked at the shipyard. So I get over to the house. She gets home 3:30. She goes, "Hey, I'll be home by 3:30." So I get there. She's literally pulling up 3:29. She's pulling up to the house. I pull up right beside her. Pull in. She runs in. She's wait out here. She runs in and goes and cuts the air conditioner on. So I hear both air conditioners come on. Gung! Like these things are like, I mean, they come on and it sounds like two 747s, man. It is like these compressors are screaming, right? Because the load in the house, because she cut her air conditioner off, right? So I walk in the house, I'm like, there is mold on her cabinets, mold's on her ceiling, mold is on her walls, like everywhere. Like it was every room, every wall. Like it wasn't one wall, like it's not like one bad room, doesn't have enough airflow or something. Everything. And I'm like, "Man, did you forget to cut your AC on today?" "Oh, no, I get home at 3:30. I cut it on, but it takes till like 9 or 10 o'clock before it really cools down." And I'm looking at her, I'm like, she's like an engineer at the shipyard. And you're in engineering? Like, I'm just a heat pump guy. Like, I'm just a dumb AC guy. Like, what in the world? This is math and science 101. Like, so anyway, what happens is you want to keep your thermostat more steady. Now there's setback settings, absolutely. You don't want to keep it 80 plus degrees in your house, right? But 77, if you're not going to be there, or if you're going out of town for a couple of weeks, or you're going out of town for the weekend, you can set it 76, 77, even 78 kind of pushing it, but do not put it at 79 or 80. Like that's not the right number, because moisture is going to get into that house. And even as short as a week, you could come home and have mold or mildew around the ductwork. Because when that system comes on, it's coming on cold. So what's the temperature of that metal? If you got 80 degrees in your house, even 79, 80 degrees in your house, what's the temperature of that metal? 79, 80, maybe warmer, right? Because you got the attic. Right. The attic's 150 degrees, right? So that ductwork is hot. It's not cool on the inside of the house. So when that AC comes on 40 some degrees, that's a 40-degree delta T. Like that is a 40-degree change in temperature. So of course, sweat and condensation. I say it all the time. This is not rocket science. Hot touches cold causes condensation. So if it's 80 on the inside of the house, 40 coming on through the air conditioner, no, it's going to sweat and condense, right? So, and then what comes after it? Now, this is just a painter answering this question. What comes after that?
Mold.
Exactly. Like it's not rocket science. But it is a science. It cracks me up that people don't think about this. Like it's not. I mean, heating and air conditioning is not the easiest trade in the world. I mean, you got wet bulb, dry bulb, like all these different, pressures. And now with the new Freon coming out, man, this is just even more complicated. But the basics of the science is basics, right? So, yeah, just please, that was a great question. You don't want to cut I've seen people cut their thermostat off, like you're going out of town and leave it at like 55, 60. But I mean, don't cut it down. Don't cut it off. Don't cut it off, because it drops to 12 degrees. It's going to hit 32 in your house.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if it's 30 outside, it's probably 40 in your house. Right. But if it drops for that one day to 12 or 4, like normally the teens are pretty common a couple times a year, but it'll be 67 the next day.
If you have poor insulation, poor windows, crawl space.
100%. Yeah. 100%. So yeah, so great question, Jack. As far as heating, if you have a heat pump and it's dropping down 12 degrees, 20s, that heat pump is going to be getting its butt kicked, but it will heat. I mean, I have mini splits in my house. Heat pumps do work. I would not put them in my house if they didn't work. Now, they're not going to blow out 150 degrees like an oil furnace. So if you're taking out an oil furnace, putting back a heat pump, it will stay warm, but it is not going to be real warm. It's going to be, high 60s. You might get it to 70 degrees. But yeah, you definitely, I'd tell you what I did at my heat pump was struggling. I cut on one of those little electric orange heaters, and I put that sucker near the return to kind of help the heat pump. So it's heated heat going into the heat pump to kind of give it a break when it does get in the 20s. So you don't want to oversize heating and air conditioning. So if the system is keeping up, but it's, if it's 62 in your house, something's wrong, right? But if you're getting 66, 67, 70 some degrees, your heat pump may be doing all it can do. So. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit. We got a few minutes left on let's talk about a situation that you run into where you refuse to paint because of the temperature and the homeowner got mad at you.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously people always have their schedules and they want, everything done yesterday. But sometimes, especially, here with this weather and it's always changing, sometimes you just can't paint outside. Really, we don't like to paint under 40 degrees. Is a good, safe number. So, people that do want to get it painted, they wanted to get it painted. It was
mother-in-law was coming into town, something
it was
emergency.
20 degrees outside, 25, 30, they're really, you can't paint in those conditions. And
you can,
well, you can paint, but you really don't want to. You're just going to run into issues. So,
tell me what issues.
So when you start painting, some of the Sherwin-Williams paint their spec down to 35 degrees, but then you have surface temp and all that stuff as well, wind chill.
Right, that makes sense.
So when you start painting in those type of conditions, you're going to run into the paint's not going to cure right. So it's going to take longer to dry. It's not going to dry uneven. The color is going to be off. You're going to have texture issues. It's not going to bond correctly. And so what's going to happen is it's going to start failing. It's going to start chipping. It's going to start peeling. You'll start seeing some runs, especially with the wind chill, stuff like that. With the wind blowing on, it's going to get super cold. It's going to start freezing up and just run into issues. And it's just going to start to fail, and you're going to run into. It's going to cost way more money to fix. You're going to run into more issues and time, and you're going to be frustrated. It just leads to a world of headaches.
And you telling people the truth about that, you're really saving them money, right?
Absolutely.
And the reason you're saving them money is they don't have to do it twice.
Yeah.
So yeah, ma'am, if you just wait 5 days, I can do this once and you don't have to worry about it. What's a good paint job last? How long should a good paint job last?
So a good paint job, I would say 7 to 10 years would be pushing it. If you got 10 years out of your paint, you should that is fantastic. But I would say anywhere from 7 to 8, 9 years is a good paint job.
How many times have you gone and lost a job and then go drive past the house and be like, oh, I guess I'll be talking to him next year?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it at least a couple of times, especially you see it a lot with commercial metal buildings, not prepping it correctly or not using the right products. Makes a world of difference. It starts to get oxidation, or even aluminum siding, stuff like that. We see a lot, and it starts oxidation. It gets all chalky, and people are wondering why their paint is looking all uneven, and then they get it washed, and then it makes it look even worse because they get someone washing it that maybe doesn't use the right chemicals and the right pressure and all that good stuff. And then their house,
that'll piss you off.
The house looks all camouflaged and light and dark colored paint all over the house.
Maybe they're trying to hide.
Right.
Maybe he's in the woods.
So yeah, I mean, you really just want to make sure, listen to the contractor, make sure you get a good trusted contractor, look them up on Google, ask for references, contractor's license, all that good stuff. And really just listen to them, just say, hey, when's the best time to paint, best products, how should we prep it? And really just get all the details. You can even find a lot of the information online or calling in the show too. We can provide all the information and services as well that can help, avoid a situation like that.
Well, I did all the homework for you. I found Jack.
Yeah.
Right. It's a legacy painting. Like I said, he's got a great little office over here in Yorktown, kind of the middle of the peninsula, right off 17, right off J. Clyde. And it's Production Drive, if some of you guys in Yorktown know where that's at. But he will go to the south side. It's he's got a nice, decent sized crew now, so he's not by himself anymore. A lot of times you'll run into painters that typically they'll have their paintbrush, a little gallon thing of paint and their Michelob right next to it. So it's, but don't worry, they're driving their truck. They don't have insurance and they barely got gas money. So that's pretty much your competitor, right? Is that-
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
It's I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I started out with one truck, so you just gotta. I just didn't want to keep being the only guy in the truck. So
That can be hard.
yeah, that life is really tough. It's I'm making kind of fun of it, just kind of joking around. But the smaller guy, but there are some great small contractors trying to get bigger. And hey, you were one truck at
Yeah,
one point,
not too
right?
long ago.
So, but you're listening and you're trying to learn how to grow your business, and I think it's phenomenal
Thank you.
that you can get somebody under 30 to listen, let alone actually want to learn and want to grow a business and want to have great employees. And me and Jack were kind of talking the other day about setting your standard. You know, what is I'm really proud of him. I went into his shop the other day, had his vision out, his mission statement, vision statement, value statement, all that stuff, saying, hey guys, here's a line in the sand. This is my standard. You can choose to be part of that standard or not. You know, so it's really hard to do that because, you know, we all get busy and we need to hire people. We need help. We're trying to hire people. And, you know, guy that I used to work for used to use the fog the mirror rule on hiring. I said, what the heck is fog the mirror? He goes, I stick a mirror underneath their nose. If it fogs, I know they're alive and I'll hire them. It's like, oh, I don't know if any of y'all's stomachs turned and threw up, but mine did. I said, when I open my company, that is not going to be the situation. But I do joke. I said, look, if they're not working for me, there might be a reason, right? So, because I got rules, I got standards. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. We've got just in a few short 8 or 9 years, we've got over 85 employees. And when you meet one of my guys, I can't tell you how many times I get phone calls or private messages on Facebook or text messages of, bro, I just had the best experience I've ever had with a contractor, which, I mean, it chokes me up, man. I'm like, well, I'm glad somebody noticed because we're working really hard to find good people, you know. I don't normally lose people that I want. So if somebody's left me, I had a friend of mine call me and said, man, I finally got one of your guys. And I said, you did? And he said, yeah, I hired this guy. And I'm like, he's not one of my guys. I don't lose people. And he goes, no, man, he's been with you for 3 years, and told me the guy's name, and I busted out laughing. I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, he did work for me for, I don't know, it was less than a year. I fired him for stealing. He's like, son of a, he thought he got one of my guys. You know, I'm like, no. So find the right guys, set your standards, and the customers that keep coming back.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've had some, I mean, just fantastic people around me to help get us to where we are, like Chuck, Mike, Albin, I mean, everybody. So I'm just blessed. There's some really great people in the community, great contractors. So if you're looking to get stuff done or just questions, DIY, give us a call. That's over here. We want to help. We want to answer questions. So we look forward to all day. So please give us a call.
Well, we are finishing up, coming up on the end of the show. The phone number is 757-955-9415. You can call or text anytime. And, you know, when this storm comes in, definitely, or is coming in, definitely reach out to us. And that is us. That is the 757 House Whisperer Show signing off.